in having a pretty much lifetime member from the club here. And he and his wife have put together a short, about 25 to 30 minute presentation on the early years of this club. So take it away, Chuck Colwell and Bernie.
Okay, guys, we always open up with a disclaimer. I just tell you that my wife did 95% of this, and I take credit for it.
We knew that anyway.
All right, here we go. This was our first logo, and we'll move on to the first bunch of officers that really weren't elected. I don't.
Quiet, guys. We're recording this for the rest of the club members, so please.
And the gentleman up in the upper left-hand corner is Norm Walsh. He was the founder of this club. He went to the town council, I guess it was, in Chino, and said that we, the club, would provide the schools with some training and entertainment and expose them to model aviation. Okay. This is the very first, well actually this is the second field that we had. There was a field adjacent to this that didn't last very long. This one here, we had the Cabanion, and we had, next slide, we had built our little flight stations and everything. And there was about 15, maybe a little bit, I know when I first went to the meeting there was 13 people there. And the town of Chino Valley said, Yavapai College wanted our property. If we gave it up willingly, they would pave a field for us, and it was going to be 800 feet long and slightly uphill. So here's the list of officers at that particular time, and I had come down from Flagstaff, new to this whole group of guys, and I volunteered to do the newsletter, and this is how I got conscripted into there. One of the things that we did in the early years was that when we had the holidays, we had our meetings over at the senior center, and we had the little bean bag toss for Halloween, and then we did Christmas floats, and we had a lot of participation, about 100%, because we were such a small club. Now, if you really think about it, we had 3 clubs in the area. We had the Tri-City down in Dewey. We had the Casa de Aero group over there at Embry, Riddle, and then our club with this dirt field. So we're moving along. They put up a sign. We had to close this field. Everybody got their little vehicles together, and we had Tom Wells's trailer. We used it for, I guess, about 25 years. Anyway, it hauled all of the stuff over, and some of the guys that you see in here, like Gene Blair, was a member of the Dewey Club, Tri-City Club, and these guys then have Walt Allen. He was a member of the Casa de Aero group. We started laying out the field, and it was a cold, blustery December, and all of us pitched in, and we started bringing coffee and donuts out to the field, and the wind was blowing, and it was kind of dusty, but we had our own field. So then here we are, all having donuts and coffee, and the guy, this guy right here, is a trip. Art was our first electric flyer, and we'll show you later what it was, but here it is, a lot of dirt. And we had all these guys coming from around that had, the Dewey operation had quit. They were in what is now the industrial area across from the fire station down in Dewey, and they had been kicked out. And so they joined our club. Here's Len Pica, the president, and I was newsletter editor. Frank Williamson. Norm Walsh stayed with us for a while, then he moved to California. This guy up here, Tom Wells, I think he's still in a club. And okay, now we started the the building process. And it's kind of like in the wintertime, everybody's bundled up, and they start the companion, poured it. In the meantime, the guys were, you couldn't stop them. They had a field of their own, so they were going to bound to fly. And okay, here we go. This is the bare bones out there, and guys were dying to get the roof on so they could get in underneath it. And here's some of that volunteer help that we had. A lot of the guys from Casa de Oro come over, pretended like it was their club, and they gave us all the help we could have. And Tom Wells was the overseer. He was there, I think he got divorced for a while, and then he reunited with his wife after the final touches. Okay, we go on. Bill Schwartz was really a hard-working guy. Cabanya's coming up. The roof's been on, and now we go into where the guys are under the cover, and here's the hangar talk without the hangar. So we went on from here, and we had a handshake agreement with Joel Baker. Joel Baker came to me and said, hey look, you guys moved out and we'll get you relocated, and then we will pave your field. And no written contract, he just shook hands with me, and that was the deal. And here's your guys doing the hard labor. It was inexpensive hard labor. And safety fence going up early on, and the flight stations and those tables that lasted for a little while until they were replaced by some of the new ones. Here was my first newsletter. The black and white, it didn't last very long because we wanted color. So it was a lot of staple, a lot of printing. And there's your first board elected. So Vern Godfrey was a very good treasurer, and he passed away after a number of years there. Two guys out of there, myself and Walt Findley, were in the chapter 705 for the Thunderbirds, and we did the IMA fly-ins. It turned out to be a very good source of money. Here's the bigger planes. There's a certain lack of foam. I don't know what it is, but anyway, this was mostly gas and nitro. And there we go. This is a particular plane, as you'll see later on in the thing. It's a tri-motor. I put two engines on because I put it on floats and went to Lake Havasu. And the people that we invited in from all the other clubs were Kingman, Flagstaff, Tucson, Phoenix, and Lake Havasu, and Cams up in Sedona. And we tried to get a reciprocal agreement to go to their fly-ins also. Here's a cross-section of Sparky Thornton. There he is down there. Gene Blair, he's still a member, but he doesn't fly here. Rod Larson, everybody knows. Okay, and this gentleman here, Frank Melanson, it's out of character. He normally dressed in black. And if you'll take a pause here, I'll just tell you a little quick one. We had a gentleman show up at our field, and we always tried to come up, shake hands and everything. This guy started to fly. Frank Melanson come up all dressed in black, ex-deputy sheriff or something. And he said to the guy, what are you doing? You have an AMAT card? And the guy says, well, I don't have to show it. And he said, okay, you fly, you die. And so the guys, they ratted him out and told me about it. So at the next meeting, the little room at the top of the stairs, I pulled Frank in there and I said, Frank, I've heard the other side of the story. What's your side of the story? And he said, well, the guy got on me and I told him he'd fly and die. I said, why did you do that? He said, well, you called the SWAT team in. I said, you're the SWAT team? And he said, yeah. So he became the new sheriff in town, but we put a kind of halter on him that he wouldn't do that anymore. Because he kind of got a bad reputation. Okay, here's Frank Lloyd, Lloyd Young, and nice figure 9. Yeah, that's here's our group of guys. It was always, seemed like it was always the same group of guys out there with the wheelbarrows and the shovel. In those days, we couldn't get mechanized help. Bill Jones was one of our first helicopter pilots, and we seemed to coexist pretty good. This guy here, George Porter, worked for one of the radio stations or TV stations, I guess a TV station. And this plane here never got built. So that's our first logo there. And now we were invited by the town of Chino Valley to put on a demonstration on the 4th of July because the rodeo ended at 6 o'clock. All the cowgirls and cowboys ended their rodeo, and the fireworks didn't start till 9, so they wanted us to go over there to the rodeo grounds and do demonstrations. So we pulled together a crew and we went over there. And now we're the handshake deal. Joel Baker Bade was starting to come to fruition. Here we go. The heavy equipment rolled in, and it was a great day, I tell you. As we went through all those building pains, and now all of a sudden we were going to have a paved field. We didn't know it was going to be chip seal, but we didn't care. And you see how many heavy equipment that they came out with, and we just said, this is great. And we finally got the day that I think it was 3 or 4 days of hard work out there, and they finally finished the pit area, and there it is, and we let it cool off, and you'll see that it's now time to do the striping. Old Tom Welch was always out there.
It was my white baby.
Yeah, there it is, ready for the official dedication. And we as a club decided that we would go and attend one of the town council meetings. And we had, I don't think Rick was around at that time, but we would have had him do this plaque. We presented the town council with a plaque in appreciation for all the work that they had done for us. And then this was the dedication day, September the 6th, 2001, right? Yep. Yeah. And the whole town council came out. Dan Main was the mayor. We had Vice President Rich Hansen, who's now the liaison for the AMA to the FAA, and we're cutting the ribbon there. Andy's holding it. Tom Wells is at the other end. Rich Hansen's next to me. Dan Main's in the center, and Joel Baker. This is Joel Baker. This is the guy we always got to thank, guys, for our field. Okay, there we go. And then we had the rest of it. We had the chief of police and the head of Parks and Recreation. We had them all in there, and we had a parking place for them. When Stu Spalding, the guy that I'd been working with, quit, this is his second in command. He moved up, and he played golf. I belonged to the country club. He said, oh, I wonder if I could play some golf. Somebody, we call that blackmail, out on the coast we called it schmoozing. So we got him a number of golf games, and he was on our side. The mayor and Joel Baker asked us to go out with ADOT on the opening of 89A, and we have a little awning up there set up and a trailer with our planes on it, and we were able to pass out flyers for our field and our club and get young people interested in there. And that's Bill Schwartz, me, Tom, and Andy. Andy's one of the more active members of our club. There was 2 hobby shops in town when I moved here. One was on the north side, and it was run by Scott Simpson. And they had asked Mr. Fain from Fame Ranch Road, the Fain Ranch, for permission to fly on a field up above the fairgrounds. Well, they got the field, they put up a cabana, and everything was fine. Then one day, Mr. Fain decided to visit the field, and a couple of guys were on quad runners and motorcycles and dragging up and down the runway. Instantly, they lost the field. So more guys come back into our club. And Donna and Tony opened up the hobby shop from the old gentleman that used to have that with his little dog. And then we had the big prizes to start the raffle off at the club. That guy won a 4-channel radio. Here's the new board for 2002. Then you see Andy still in the thing, and then we took in a new guy. This is Richard Bork, who later became a president of the club. Ted Cheever was our flight instructor, and Gene Blair was a VP. And Dick Bork wound up at one of our contests winning the loop, and what was the other one? I don't know.
Candy drop.
Oh, the what?
Candy drop.
Yeah, the candy drop. So we, like Carol just said, we had pancake breakfast. We had every holiday. We had some event that was drag racing, dropping from a styrofoam cup. You drop the beans and so forth. We had all kinds of things happening. And then here you go with a drag. I don't know when it was just one of those spontaneous things that we did out there. And go ahead. Yeah. Oh, there's my old ugly stick. Looks like Rick's, doesn't it? Yeah.
Wrong kind of motor.
Yeah. And then we finally, everybody wanted to get together and have a Christmas dinner, so we took round robin people going out and find us a place. This was over on where? Not Miller Drive.
Iron Spring.
Iron Springs Road. Okay, go on. And you see the group, and a lot of times this was the first chance we got to meet each other's wives. Okay, and pretty good turnout. Excellent food, by the way. Okay, and there's Donna and Tony Pacini. Yeah. Okay. Here's one of the Territorial Day parades. Our commitment to the town was that we would involve ourselves not only in the schools, but we would come and attend or participate in their parades. And here you go. This is Tom and his little wagon. And Vern and Stephen Crowe. Okay. And this also is one of the advantages of being in a club. This guy was a good flyer, Jeff Hopper, and these guys would come and they would put on how to dress your plane out in the right servos, the right prop, right size tires, and how to balance it out. There's a balancing thing. And then down below, Walt Allen, his expertise when he was in, before he retired, was in batteries. He did an expo on batteries that just wouldn't quit. But that's one of the advantages of being a club. Okay, this is the second 4th of July celebration. We again turned out and flew. Scott Simpson's a really good flyer. Walt Finley, I don't know, he flies jets, so, you know, I guess he's proficient. Anyway, at night, we would move out to the field and have a barbecue, spray on the bug spray, and then we would take our folding chairs and move out onto the actual runway and watch the fireworks go off. And we had Ron Dixon come down from Williams, and he flew at night. One of the early on guys that could fly at night. And let's see. Okay, here's one of the guys that was a prolific builder of big airplanes, almost like I am Asa, and Don Kroller. And there you see what a beautiful plane he has in the air. I think my wife shot some of these pictures. I don't remember shooting. Okay, another one. This is my tri-motor, and then here's Bill Jones's helicopter. We went up to the National Night Out, and we got a rider from AMA to cover the insurance, because what they did was they mowed the driving range really short, and our planes were flying off of the driving range just like it was their own field. And we were insured because we were flying around over condos and houses and people. And then we had a static display up there, and I didn't bring it in, but the club got an award from the National Night Out, which is all the guys that go out with the firemen and rescue people and everything, and that was, we did that return for them 2 years in a row. Okay, moving on. Huh? Oh, a little aside. Tony Chino, one of the best flyers, had his little plane, and I had another one smaller than this. And he flew around, did a real bunch of 3D things, and maybe flew right into the tree on the landing. And not to be outdone, I put mine higher up in the tree. so everybody got they got a laugh about it. Now, here's our float, and the theme of this particular Territorial Day parade was heroes, past, present, and future. Now, we were able to have Stephen Crowe on the float with a plane, and the announcement was that he was accepted into the Aviation Hall of Fame just weeks before this float. Here is the actual picture of the plaque. We were awarded first place for honoring the commitment of heroes past, present, future. We gave that to Stephen. Okay, now the next is our first annual Arizona Thunderbird. Here's our list of prizes as we come out. Okay, and remember the transmitter in town, guys? No 2.4. Here we go. This guy here, Bill Nutting, owned a big plane exactly like that model. And Tony Puccini flew this plane. This guy was starting to lose his eyesight. And so you'll see in the next slide, there's his big airplane, and there's his, and guess what? That one is true to scale. So he had the big plane to work off of. And then here we go. This is a tiered, new members had to take the bottom outhouse. And we had the field out there for all the people with their trailers, and here's a young Andy Yonker. You guys know him from into the hobby shop and all around. One of the real true good members. All right? Yeah. And here we go. Dick Bork swung into the saddle and was going to run the thing for 2 years, I guess it was. And over here is Dennis O'Connor's Gypsy Moth. These guys love to talk about their airplanes in the pit. And we had Rod and his little profile, and there's Scott Simpson. By the way, this guy, Scott, was a very active member, and he went on to fly Bory bombers, and him and I flew in his plane down to the Copper State Fly-In. I got to talk to him a lot. He became one of the Bory bomber pilots, flew all around Arizona, and now I think he's in California, and he's working for one of the airlines. Here's the thank you to the ladies. The ladies provided us with the best food that these guys, the pilots from Las Vegas, said they ever had. What we did was we went out and bought tri-tips, and the ladies brought in every dessert you could ever name. And these guys, we had to take a stick and feed them away from the table. They met us again in California in the big air show, I mean the big mall show, and they wanted to know if we were going to do it again. Ted, Dick, and I with our Ultra Sticks, and yesterday I inherited Dick's Ultra Stick. He and I made a little trade. Okay, here's one of the pancake barbecues out at the field. Later we had pancake breakfast, and there's Dick, and I now own that airplane. Okay, here we go with another holiday and another excuse to have a fly-in at the field. This is the early years, guys. We didn't have the big, what is it? The guys all hold up 9s and 10s and 5s and 6s, the judges for your flying. This is a unique little float. We had the planes on the float, and then it was dragging one of the big plane. Here it is right there, float going by, and they had the judges stand out there, and we didn't win anything on that. This is Mr. Electric, as we said before, and every plane, he never flew one time that he didn't crash. Not one time. and he had more batteries than a submarine in that thing, and they were so heavy that, you know, when he got done with the fifth crash, there was so much epoxy in there, you could not lift that plane without it. You had to have a truss on to lift his plane, and then he would finally just get rid of it and get another one and start the process all over again. And what happened was, he would fly, he would go all the way down the runway, and he would just get airborne and then roll right over and go in. And so here's another one of our Fun Fly turnouts. It was a good thing we had swap meets and so forth. I mean, not really paying, you just traded a guy, a starter for an engine and stuff like that. Here was the thank you for the ladies providing such a good feed for our fly-in, that we, on Mother's Day, the club took them to the country club and threw a big feed, and we as club members got to meet the wives and everything, and so it wound up to be, there's Dennis O'Connor, and there's old Dick Bork, and some of these guys really enjoyed mingling with the other half. Okay, here's another Thunderbird Fall Classic, and we got the guys back again. We got all the guys from Tucson, and we got guys from Havasu, and so you see some of the size of the planes that these guys started. Again, there's a lack of phonies. I don't know what it is. But, here's Dennis O'Connor, one of his little. Every time I turn around, he's got a new airplane, and whoops, landing gear betrayed him there. But Bill Jones gave him a little assist, and you can see it kind of dangling down. Okay, and remember the frequency board? Those were the days. You're on my pin. How much longer are you going to fly?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. And you see above, we put in temporary Tom Wells and the ladder. We put in these and we hook the fluorescent lights up so that in the evening when we threw our big dinner, we would plug in the cable to the motorhome and turn it on and have. And there's Doris and old Lloyd Young. They cooked there. Remember Byron Clucky is a flight. And there's Andy Yonker still. And Bill Owens was one of the Tri-City Flyers that joined our club. He did a lot of work for us too. Here's another Fun Fly barbecue. We were always doing something at the field. There's Don Kroger. He got an award for his big airplanes and how much he contributed to the club. Okay, and we had our little pop-ups. Okay. Here's the guys from Vegas, and these guys made our fly-in. They came in mass, their whole club came down from Las Vegas to partake of our feed. Here it is, the field, but we had our setup for the big IMA thing. Now here's Bert Dees, he now is down south. And Jim Lynch, he's a CD down for this upcoming fly-in, I think in November, down there. And there he is, Miss Los Angeles. And the P-47 belongs to, forget his name. Anyway, here we go with the flying. Beautiful little plane. And this is Roy. He's one of the really good flyers from down in Tucson. Passed away, and they've named the fly-in after him. This guy would stop everything he's doing and give you a hand, talk to you about his plane, tell you what kind of props went with what engine. He just was one of those guys that just made your day, and he could fly really good. Some more lineup of the big airplanes that we had. And there goes Alan Mosher's dad. He's the CD down south too. He flies some of the, there they are. They spot for one another without being asked. They do that with the bigger airplanes. I don't know what a thingamajig is. You know, it's in the back of the plane. It helps it make it fly. I don't know. But anyway, pilots out there trading secrets, and there's Walt Finley from Casadero. He's been the president, or with the president, for 77 years. And Tom Alt was one of the good little flyers. And Tom and I think Bill Sport used to have a banner, and they opened up the fly-ins with the American flag going by on one of their airplanes. This is Richard Hoffman. I think it's Phil Hatch that was the president. This guy here was just, he was immersed in big airplanes. Every time he opened his trailer, out come a big airplane. And lots of horsepower on this thing. Again, we don't seem to have any foamies there for some reason. Okay, here's a bad deal. This guy, Jim Snyder, I met him in Lake Havasu, and I went over there to fly at his place. And he came to this is his first uphill takeoff, and he was doing a slow roll. And unfortunately, he pulled back on the stick instead of pushing forward. And it was a heartbreaking moment. One of our very few accidents at our fly-ins. Phil Hatch, he's the president of the Las Vegas Club. That's $7,000 there. And these guys come down, I think are high rollers from Las Vegas. And then again, here's some of the pictures that my wife took, I'm sure, because oh yeah, she took this. She had my camera though, right? Yeah. This guy here, he's a limey. That's what they call him. And I don't know whether it's Canada, Australia, or from Britain, Great Britain. This guy was just a treat to be around, and he had lights all over this plane, and then he could fly it just like a little old trainer, but it was a forgiving airplane. And he bought $1 million worth of our raffle tickets, and I don't know why he won, but he did win some of the top things. Here we go. There's a Gypsy Moth from Dennis O'Connor, another new airplane. And we invited some of the jet flyers up from Phoenix. They brought up a couple of different aircraft. The wind started blowing. We said, hey, you guys, you know, you want to go or not? They said, oh yeah, the jets are not bothered by the wind. So here you go. They're spotting for each other, and there goes their little plane flying like it's not even bother. And old Jeff Jones, he's still in the club. He won the prize. We had impound, as you can see there. And now we're into Lloyd Young and Steve Kyle, Dennis Connor. Tom Wells is still in the club. I don't know, the guy can't get rid of him. Okay, that was the end of the IMA, and they decided, that board decided that they would no longer have an IMA show, that they wanted to just go back to small airplanes and have it just our club participating in it. And so that later became the Stephen Crowe Fun Fly. Here we are at the Christmas party. Everybody seemed to be having a good time. I came back in after Lloyd took off, and Lou Dees came in, and Bill Owens was still in, and we got a new guy in here. This old farmer can fly.
Bob Shakes makes an appearance.
Yeah. And then we had Embry Riddle came to us and wanted to fly some of their concept models. I don't know if those guys are well. Anyway, they built some pretty irregular planes. Here we go for Pancake Breakfast. Carol, good idea. And we had a lot of guys turn out for them. And there's our, Bob Shanks volunteered for this. You know something? If you get a headlock on him and a half Nelson, he volunteered. Yeah. And there's Marvin Jones presenting the certificate to Stephen Crowe. after we found out what he did in the war. Now, see, some guys are heroes because they got drafted and they were in the wrong place at the right time. Stephen had to take and escape around through Canada to go to England and get in this Eagle Squadron. Now, this is the guy that shot down 4 German planes. And you say, he's a young guy. Why did he do all that? And he paid his own way over there to be a hero. And that's the kind of guy he was. Okay, here we go with, oh, there's Dennis O'Connor with a new airplane. And Bob Doolin. Okay, so one with this there he is, a new airplane.
Every month.
Yeah, every fly-in there's a new airplane. And there's old Marvin all in black again, or blue, whatever. This cigarette hanging out of his face. One of the good guys, but there's Terry Buckley and Jerry Gill. He's a lifetime member of our club. Donated a lot of things to start with, Marvin and Bert Dees. Okay, there's old Jared from, where's he at? Waddell, way down there, and he used to drive up all the time for our fly-ins. And I think he was a member for about 5 years. Okay, here we go. We're reciprocating by going back. Here's Andy with my transmitter. I'm dancing around this thing because I got a 4.2 sacks with about 20 minutes of fuel there. In the wings I got 61 engines, and they're running on those flat jet tanks that only have about 8 minutes, so I have to start the big engine, get it really going, and then it took me about 4 hours to get the landing gear legs on that float, and I didn't know it, but here's this big, huge crowd over here, and by noon or 1 o'clock, when I finally got ready to fly, they were drinking pina coladas. I got a standing ovation for a takeoff.
How about the landing?
And then, I don't know whether it was Andy that egged me on, he said, do you think with the floats and 3 engines you could do a loop? And I said, what the hell, why don't you try? And it took about an acre of air to go up and go, I got another standing ovation. That's what pina coladas will do. Okay, here's my big Sky Raider, 120 inch, and it was built from scratch, and Bob Morris plans, and it's got a Sax 100 in it. And this is out at Castle Air Force Base, and there was about, I don't know, 400 pilots or something, seemed like. Every time I wanted, this is when you had to go get your own pin and stuff, and it was a long wait. And now we went up to reciprocate at Flagstaff. Do you guys know that we were invited to go to Cannes? One person showed up at Cannes. Guess who it was? Anybody know?
Sure.
No, Randy Meathrall and his wife, Carol. They were the only ones that showed up, and he flew there. Okay, then we were invited up there, and we flew. Here we go back with these airplanes designed by the Embry Riddle students. This thing had an aluminum boom, and John Stewart was flying it, and the first time he turned it on, the boom started twisting inside the body, and the servos went da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And so he made him take it back, and he finally got this thing up in the air, and how he did it, I don't know. But the ticket was punched, the expiration date was over with, and so there it is. It flew into the side of the hill. And these guys weren't dismayed about that. So back to the drawing board, they all went back.
Here's the process, what they learned along the way.
Yeah, right. So here we go with Randy and all of our present board, but I think this is still back one turnaround, and Jay was the president for a couple of years, and Bob Shanks was president for a couple of years, and then Randy came back after that, not this time. And then this is Donna and Tony's boy, sponsored by Futabra. I'll be damned, there's a Dennis with a new airplane. and there's John Stewart flying, and Chris Mayer's flying a fixed wing for a change. Okay, and now we have a Christmas party at the Chino buffet. I think what was it? Glenn Heathole set this up for us. That was a really good. There's Randy reading his little Christmas jingle, and we go, back through the crowd, everybody's ready to eat. And we're getting near the end, aren't we?
Yep.
Okay, this is coming up to be continued. Our club has changed drastically in the last 5 years and to the better, because we've always been blessed with a lot of guys that wanted to help, and they still do, and our club has just exponentially expanded with all the good help and the good members. Okay, here's a future of model aviation, and who better to get them started than old Randy there with the computer. This is taken up at Valley Airfield, and the next one is, there's the boys and girls, and sooner or later this gal's going to be, if you guys live long enough, 20 years from now, you'll be seeing a United Airline captain with her little board, and she's walking down the aisle. I'm the captain. And that's it, guys. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. I don't know how long. Oh wow, they're going to make it out of here by 9. Well, anything else? No.